one of the most interesting stories that have come up that I've definitely been talking about with my tech contacts is around the new OpenAI model, O1, which just came out last week. And it's a bit of a different paradigm than the traditional large language models, as traditional as anything 2 years old can be. But there's really a different approach to this model where it thinks more about reasoning and doesn't necessarily just spit out an immediate response. So I was curious what you thought about that, Shane, and how people might be using this.
Yeah, it's absolutely hard not to talk about in tech circles right now. This is something I think the pace of innovation from OpenAI around their language models and the additional ability to handle complex multi-turn conversations has been something I think everyone in tech is solving for with the use of AI, especially generative AI, to drive conversation, question answer, summarization. Um, and get to the point where, like you and I having a conversation, we can multi-thread different topics and different conversations and kind of bring those things into the conversation. And it makes the burden of having to be a good prompt engineer as an end user less of a burden because you can speak to AI the way I would speak to you. And we're getting closer and closer to AI understanding the cadence, the context, the complexity of human thought and human conversation to where you don't necessarily have to be an expert to get the answers you're looking for. Now, I think there's always going to be space for optimizing prompts and how we interact with AI to get exactly what we want and fine tune the result. But I think we're getting closer and closer to what I would call a human level conversation, or what a lot of people I think refer to as the concept of general intelligence around how we interact with AI and how AI interacts with us more.
Yeah, I find it interesting how the O1 model is really focused on chaining multiple kind of lines of thought together to create a comprehensive response to a question. And sometimes this means that it is just blathering on for thousands of words to what seems like a relatively simple question because it doesn't quite know where to stop. But the flip side of that is if you want a comprehensive answer that you might use to define a process or to look at a multi-threaded or multi-departmental response to a question, O1 might actually be your best step or your best starting point. You just have to wait 15, 30, 45 seconds for an answer instead of getting that immediate half-second response that we're used to getting from the likes of GPT and other more casual consumer grade LLMs.
Yeah, I think the key there is I think they're starting to build for not general use cases, but thinking about the way enterprises are going to use this type of intelligence and these type of LLMs to solve business use cases. And I think some of the smartest answers I've ever gotten from humans followed a 15 to 20-second pause where they were
Mhm.
composing their thoughts about how they wanted to answer in a very thoughtful way. So I'm okay with waiting for a better answer if that means the quality is going to be better. And I think over time that's going to speed up as the model optimizes. It gets more interaction with the general public and a lot more end
Yes.
users.
And I'm also looking forward to seeing how this might mean that we are using different models for different use cases on a more practical and general basis. We might end up having a monitor of models or a model of models over time where each use case and each question actually leads to a different model or different type of retrieval. All the stuff that we're talking about with the retrieval and tuning and data access is really honestly very primitive at this point. We just kind of shove
It
everything
is.
into one place and hope that we get the right response because honestly, this Gen AI stuff is pretty smart at what it does, but it's not like we have this very sophisticated way of using these models at this point.
Yeah, and I think the way a lot of companies, especially, are solving for this in their own AI approaches is they're either going to one extreme or the other. They're either relying heavily on the general purpose LLMs to drive, very broad topical areas of conversation, or they're going very narrow on dedicated LLMs to get very specific responses about their own internal data, transactional information about their core platforms and systems, things of that nature. So something like an O1 could potentially be that middle ground that allows them to train on specific things within the model to get those more specific answers, but also have it be very broad to capture a variety of questions that could come to it.